Hello everyone, I'm going to share with you a subscriber's story, at least two aspects of her story which she allowed me to share, and I'm not going to mention her name, but I thought that the 2 points that I'm going to mention about her story is going to help Jehovah's Witnesses who are watching this video. And by the way, if you are a Jehovah's Witness, that is an apologist, watching this video, you know, like I know, that you're not supposed to watch this video at all. But if you are a Jehovah's Witness watching this video because you are on the edge, you are questioning your religion more and more, and you want to know more and more about your religion, I think this is going to help you see your organization in a different light. At least I certainly hope so. So without further ado, let's go into it. So the first thing I want to share about her story is that she was engaged to be married at age 17. Now, before I go further along with this, you have to understand, if you're not a Jehovah's Witness, that Jehovah's Witnesses think that they are the wise people of the earth, okay? And what they call the worldly people, meaning people who are not Jehovah's Witnesses, are the fools. They are people that are not reasonable, that don't do the right thing most of the time, while Jehovah's Witnesses do. So this young lady, she's only 17 years old, and she's engaged to be married. How on earth? Well, the reason is that among Jehovah's Witnesses, while it's not all of them, but a lot of them are engaged between 17 and 19 years old, because there is no such thing as dating in the world of Jehovah's Witnesses. You either engage to be married or you are married, but there is no room for any other type of romantic relationships. So you are 17 years old and you might as well, yes, be engaged to be married. While in the world, you know, those people that are not wise and all, they are, what do they do at 17 years old? Well, they are in school and they are probably on their first date ever. That's what normal 17-year-olds do. And I don't even like to use the word normal, but you know what I mean. So it's interesting that in this case already we see who is the wiser people, right? The one who are just going to school and be on their first date at 17, or the ones that are getting engaged to be married at 17. So now, this said, you would think that people around that 17-year-old would not pressure them, right, to get married. They would do the opposite. They would encourage her to take her time, take all the time she needs to be sure before she actually gets married. But not in the world of Jehovah's Witnesses. Are you kidding? She was actually pressured to get married because her engagement was lasting a little too long, like a year or something. So she was pressured by the congregation, she was pressured by her own parents to get married already. So here is another thing. Is it wise to rush a 17-year-old to get married? Not really. Not in a normal world, let's say. Now, why do you think this was the case? Why do you think that people would rush someone to get married when they are only 17 years old? Because among Jehovah's Witnesses, one of the biggest sin, as big as a crime, it's fornication. What they still call in the 21st century fornication. Yes, sleeping with someone you're not married to. So in the world of Jehovah's Witnesses, having signed a piece of paper in front of witnesses in order to sleep with them, it's a big deal. You know, unless you have done that, you cannot sleep with that person. And the reason why I'm laughing, it's because from my point of view today, I really feel this is so stupid. This is so materialistic. You know, this is so not spiritual anyhow, because it doesn't matter in what type of God you believe, even if you believe in a judgmental God. You know, what the heck does signing a piece of paper and saying yes in front of another human being, what difference does it make? Really none in my world anyhow. So anyway, that's why I'm laughing. But besides this, there is another bigger problem behind the problem of, yes, not committing fornication. A Jehovah's Witness would rather have you get married fast to the wrong person than to commit fornication. Can you imagine that? In their upside down brain, in their twisted thinking, they believe that it's worse to commit fornication, to sleep with someone you're not married to yet, than to get married to that person if it's the wrong person. That is amazing. That's unbelievable for people who are not in a cult, but that's the truth. That's the truth in the world of Jehovah's Witnesses. You better get married already. The fact that it's the wrong person, well, we'll see that later, right? It's better to get married than commit that terrible sin, fornication. And as a matter of fact, it turned out to be the wrong guy indeed. He pretty much led a double life since the engagement, and she did not even get married with the guy, thankfully. But you see how if she had married the guy, she would have definitely have to divorce eventually at some point. Just why? For what? To avoid that fornication thing, to please people, just to get married fast, so the other Jehovah's Witnesses would be at peace. They would be happy with that. That's incredible. But it really shows you that for people who think they are so wise and so right all the time, how wrong that is, and are not wise that is. And another reason why they would push someone to get married fast, it's that the culture of this organization, it's not to trust the individual as being a faithful, strong in her faith person who is going to stick to the commandments of their God. No. The culture of this cult is not to trust the individual and to always assume the worst in them, to assume that they are too weak and that eventually, because they are so weak, they are going to sin against Jehovah. That's the culture of Jehovah's Witnesses, is to always assume the worst in people rather than assuming the best. The second part of her story is when she got this fellowship. She got this fellowship as an adult, but she was living with her parents, and from the day she got this fellowship, her father told her that pretty much she had no say in the house anymore, and that she had a curfew. She was to get back home no matter what at 10 p.m., and if she wasn't home by 10 p.m., she would be locked out of the house. One evening, the parents, they have other Jehovah's Witnesses over to dinner, and poor ostracized girl, she goes out that evening to leave them alone, and she makes the mistake to get back home at 10:04. 4 little minutes after a curfew. Well, sure enough, do you know what her father does? Well, he locks the door and he tells her that she would have to sleep outside of the house and that he was going to give her a blanket to sleep on in the patio. Can you believe this? This is a Jehovah's Witness parent who locks her daughter out of the house at night after 10 o'clock because she's 4 minutes late after her curfew and lets her out sleep in the patio on a blanket like a dog. And I'm not insulting people who are really dog lovers. I know that you want your dogs in the house. Can you imagine that? So that poor young lady, there was no way she was going to sleep in the patio. So she went to a couple friends, and this couple, they happened to be disfellowshipped Jehovah's Witnesses. And they took her in for that night. Now, who is showing more humanity here? Who is showing more Christ-like qualities? The disfellowshipped couple who takes in that poor girl that's locked out of her house to sleep in the patio, or her Jehovah's Witness father? You know, Jehovah's Witnesses, if you're watching this, ask yourself the question truthfully and answer truthfully. Who is the more Christ-like person? Well, it's not hard to tell, right? The more Christ-like people, the kinder people are this couple, this fellowshipped couple who took her in. So the next morning, she has to go to work. And all she has on, it's the clothes that she had the day before. So she thought about going back home to take a shower and get changed in order to go to work. But again, her father decides that she was not due back that morning, but that evening. So he does not allow her to get in. She can't take the shower. She can't get changed. Therefore, that day, she had to miss work. You know another thing? Jehovah's Witnesses always speak about giving a good witness. Wow. Imagine that this young lady had told her boss the truth. She had told her boss why she couldn't go to work that morning. That she was locked out of her house like a dog sleeping in the patio and not even allowed to get back in the next morning to take a shower and get changed. And that's why she couldn't go to work. Do you think her boss would have said, wow, where do I sign in? I want to join your religion. This seems so great. Wow. If she had told the truth to her boss, obviously he would have run the other way and think the worst about this religion, and rightfully so. Amazing that those people think that they give a good witness to the world because they are kinder and wiser, they have a bigger heart. I don't think so. And before you tell me that this is an exception, you know, like when I talk about my story, about my brothers shunning and thing, people like to say this is a unique case, this is an exception. No, I'm sorry. When you have a unique case and an exception that's told 100, 200, 300 times or more, that's no exception anymore. So do not tell me or anyone else that those cases are exceptions. They may not apply to every Jehovah's Witness, and we understand that. I would never say that all of them, each one of them would do such a thing. Some would never do that. But there's no exception either. There are many, many, many cases like this one, similar to this one, and similar to mine. So there are no exceptions. So stop saying that there are exceptions or that it's a unique case. That's not true. I think there are two reasons why there are so many mean people in this religion, while not all of them are. The number one is that I think this organization attracts people that have psychological problems, and people that have certain psychological problems, well, they are mean. They are mean because they are miserable, because the way they grew up was so crooked. For many of those reasons, it makes them mean. They are mean people. That's the first reason. The organization attracts this kind of people. And the second reason, I think the organization makes people this way. Meaning, when someone already has something that's not quite right with them, this organization doesn't help, that's for sure. they make them more into the problem that they already have. And believe you me if I tell you that I know quite a few ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, and because I'm a coach and I have like 12 years of psychology behind me, I see some patterns. I see some unnatural patterns, some things that shouldn't be sometimes in some ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that are. And when I think of some patterns that I have observed, and I trace it back to some of the teachings of Jehovah's Witnesses, I can see that this person has learned that as a Jehovah's Witness, therefore, even though they're not a Jehovah's Witness anymore, they act a certain way that is not quite normal, especially for the people that they are, most of the time intelligent, kind people. They're not even those mean people we just talked about, but they have a pattern. They're showing signs of someone who was used to be a certain way, not because they wanted to, not because they were born this way, but because they were adapting to their cult. And that pattern that they have developed in many, many years of being a Jehovah's Witness, stayed with them. And then when a certain event happens, you see it clear as day. And I tend to see it more because of what I do for a living. But the thing is, most people could see that sometimes some ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that they may know act a certain way, not because they are mean or none of that, but they act a certain way that it's kind of not quite right, kind of on the edge, we'll say, just because they were in this cult that is so unhealthy for many years. So that's it for today. I hope that this video really helped you, especially if you are a waking up Jehovah's Witness, helped you see more into your religion and what type of behavior can be observed in that religion. If you like the video, please thumbs up, like it, share it, comment, and also click on that bell if you want to be notified of my next video. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye now.